Let's just talk about your path to getting involved in this kind of work. What made you want to get involved in this sort of work?
Okay. I believe I've always wanted to be involved with this type of work. I started when I was a younger age. My mom had me in Girl Scouts and just doing things in the community. And again, I just started to just find a love for working with others. So when I went off to school at Lander University, I pretty much just found my niche there, majored in psychology, and then after that graduated and came on to DSS in 2006, and I also started with my master's with mental health counseling. So again, working in the field of human services and just trying to obtain as much knowledge and skills that could help me to where I am now.
And when you said you came here in 2006, right?
Yes.
What did you do here in Anderson the first time around?
So I started November the 2nd of 2006 in Anderson here at Department of Social Services. I was a foster care case manager. I managed a lot of families and children, and then I was promoted to a foster care supervisor in 2011, and I remained a supervisor for 3.5 years after that.
And then you went to Spartanburg?
So no.
Okay.
So a part of my goal or passion at the time, I wanted to go into being like a guidance counselor or like school-based counseling. So I actually went to Anderson Oconee Pickens Mental Health and was a school-based counselor there in District 4. And then after that, I realized that my niche was really here at Department of Social Services. So I transferred from there and went to the Litem Program out of Greenville, and still working with children and families who were closely working with Department of Social Services. And then after that, I was hired as a regional performance coach in Greenville, where I helped with the performance of 6 counties at that time in the upstate.
And how did you get to Spartanburg?
So yes, so in that role as a regional performance coach, when working with different counties, Spartanburg was one of the counties that I was working with, and I was working closely with the former director at that time. And then when that director left that position came open, but the regional director at that time asked me to be the interim, and that's how I found my niche, February of 2018. In Spartanburg County, and then later became their director in June of 2018, and was there for 5 years.
And you're still helping them while you're getting in settled in Anderson, right?
Yes, I'm still the Interim County Director there, and like you said, settling here in Anderson. Happy to be back home, but yes, doing two roles at this time.
For people who don't know much about DSS, just give them a big umbrella of what kind of things y'all do.
Okay. Now, DSS, of course, a lot of the community know about us through our child and abuse neglect cases, and of course, our SNAP and TANF cases that we do with our families who are looking for assistance with food and ABC vouchers and job readiness, those type of things. But we also have child care licensing, so we go out and license all your daycare providers. We also have child support. Our agency manages the child support enforcement division as well. But most of our work outside of those 4 or 5 major areas, a lot of the community knows about the child and abuse neglect cases. We also have adult protective services, where similar to child welfare, but they manage the adult side of those type of cases.
And you work in multiple counties around. What are just some of the biggest issues and biggest challenges DSS faces around here?
I think one of the biggest challenges that we've been facing here lately is just trying to find placement for our youth. Placements for some of our teenagers that we're now seeing come through our system, and they've been coming before, but you know we've seen a slight increase in some of that. So just wanting to find foster placements. So yes, if you are a foster parent and you want to become a foster, or if you are interested in becoming a foster parent, please reach out to us, because we're always looking for foster homes for our youth. So that's one of the challenges, just trying to find foster placements for our youth and those families that are willing to open up their homes for them.
And you had to manage working this kind of work through COVID. How did that impact the programs and stuff?
COVID was a challenge for everyone, I believe. But for the most part, we were able to manage it. Of course, some of our work was done at home. but we were still in the offices doing everything that we needed to do to serve the community. So some of those challenges were, of course, trying to meet the needs of some families who were battling with COVID and figuring out how we can get to them. Most importantly, we tried not to change our practice because we knew that our first and foremost responsibility was to make sure that all children and families were safe, make sure that those families that needed benefits from the agency, they could apply for that. And we wanted to make sure our state leadership made sure that despite what was happening around COVID, that the Department of Social Services was still meeting the needs of the community.
You mentioned you had also studied mental health issues and things. How big a issue is that when dealing with the children and the adults and through the DSS system?
I mean, it plays a part. Of course, when we see those type of cases, most of them are dealing with some kind of trauma. But then when they have those assessments, we found out that some of them also may have mental health diagnoses, which is why it's so important that we partner with those with our partners around mental health and our counselors to help us identify what would be the best services for those youth and the parents as well. So we do see some of that in our work, and we are always grateful for the partners that we have that are able to connect us to additional services to help those families and children. So it plays a part. Some of the cases that we see, it may not always be mental health related. It could be just a lack of transportation or some kind of other economic issue going on that may have prompted or pushed a parent to a level where something has happened. Because we always realize that things happen, and I don't believe that parents wake up one day and say, I'm going to do this to my child. It's just different factors and stressors that happen that cause that. But as an agency, we believe that our community partners are walking beside us and they are able to help us identify those resources to strengthen those families. So here at DSS, we do have a kinship practice that we have increased. So of course our number one goal is to put children with families if all possible, instead of them going into a foster home placement. Here lately, as we try to bring more awareness to our communication around our kinship practice, we do see a lot of grandparents and other family members coming out saying, hey, I'm willing to take my relative. And we do all we can to make sure that they're able to get the relative, and we also make sure that they have the resources. So we have a kinship licensure program that also are able to license those relatives when they need that's additional support. So we see it a lot now, and we're always trying to figure out how we can better that practice because it has increased a lot.
When your friends you are talking about work, do you think they understand what you do? Do they understand what the programs and what you're working in?
Yeah, I think they do. DSS is no secret to the community, so I believe they understand when I say that I work for the Department of Social Services. They understand some of that. Maybe from a director level, they probably don't understand some of the ins and outs of my specific role. But for the most part, I do believe when I'm speaking with just those in the community, my friends and family, they know a good bit about just the agency in general.
I'm assuming there's budget challenges with DSS, like everyone.
Of course, from a state level, there are things that happen on that level. From a county level, we don't have that many budget challenges. Yeah.
What about your staff? What kind of staff do you have here in Anderson?
We have a wonderful, wonderful staff. So there are a total of 154 employees that are housed under my leadership. Of course, we do have some regional staff that may come in time to time. But the professionals here are eager to work with families and children. They really love what they do. Of course, any job, they have some challenges, but they're always trying to work as a team to figure out how they can overcome some of that. The economic services team here, of course, have been here for some time, and they are still taking care of the community as much as they can when they're being when they come in to fill out applications for services and benefits. So I believe the staff here in Anderson are a good crop of professionals. They love what they do. They're dedicated to what they do. And we're dedicated to trying to improve not only the culture, but our community partnerships as well.
So some of the people who have been here have kind of helped you get to know the community a little more, although you've been here before. Do y'all work closely with like some of the nonprofits that do some of the same things y'all do?
So we try to find out, well, I'll just tell you, in my current role, what I'm trying to do is reconnect to the community. I do realize and believe that the community is what helps DSS. So I'm more focused on how can I sit at your table, how can I help you, so that in turn, of course, it will help us, but most importantly, it help our families. So when it comes to the nonprofit organizations, our goal is just trying to identify who they are, and then identifying how we can all work together to improve our practice, but also better the families and children in Anderson.
And what about you? What was if somebody asked to tell them something about you, what do you want people to know about you?
Let's see. So I love Clemson football. I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and I love to be with my sorors and give back in the community through our volunteering services. I love spending time with my family and going to church. And I'm just a well-rounded person. I really enjoy what I do. I have a passion for it. I've been in state government now for 17 years. So, and DSS has always been, I believe, my passion. I really enjoy what I do. But most importantly now, as I have grown as a leader, I get more joy out of growing others and seeing others benefit and grow in their roles. So that's where a lot of my focus have been here lately. And one of the two goals here in Anderson is to try to build our culture, rebuild our culture, not only internal of the inside this office, but also outside, external, with our partners and our families and our community. And then the other part of that is just to make sure that we not only hire staff but retain. So I want to be able to say that we have an office where we have people or employees here that enjoy what they're doing, and the retention is high. So.
And if people want to find out more about DSS and all the things you have to offer, or they know somebody needs the services, how can they find out more?
So we do have a DSS website. So you can go to www.dss.sc.gov, and it will pretty much take you to where you want to go. It also has a contact link where you can contact this office. So if you hit the contact, it'll give you all 46 county offices in the state, and then you will find Anderson in the upstate, and you can click on that and it says email this office, and that email will come straight to me. You also, if you would like to, you can email me at josiejones.jones@sdss.sc.gov.